global warming has become a serious threat. The melting ice of the Arctic, coral bleaching, and wildfires. All these disasters are forcing wildlife to lose their habitats. After the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century, humans emitted large amounts of greenhouse gases. Our Earth is heating up. In the Climate Change Synthesis Report, published in 2013, it was mentioned human influence on the climate system is clear, and recent anthropogenic emissions of greenhouse gases are the highest in history. As a result, the United Nations signed the Paris Agreement in 2015 with the goal to limit global temperature increases in this century to 2 degrees Celsius, even further to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Before we reduce carbon, let's take a look at where carbon exists. In fact, there are some ways to absorb carbon in nature, such as forests, oceans, and soil, respectively referred to as green carbon, blue carbon, and brown carbon. Therefore, preserving these natural environments could also achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. However, preserving the natural environment requires personnel, technology, and financial support. Companies provide funding to nature conservation programs, and in return, these programs provide carbon offsets to the companies. This is how the voluntary carbon markets work. According to the Verified Carbon Standard (VCS) program, to achieve certified forest carbon offsets, a minimum area of 0.5 hectares is required. Forests smaller than 40 hectares is typically not cost-effective. For instance, a 25 forest area in Chimay Green Energy Park, the basic certification cost for a 20-year plan is approximately $120,000, while the income from the carbon offsets is only about $75,000. There are limits to nature's carbon absorption. Hence, it is necessary to rely on the mandatory legislation by the government. Two common ways to manage carbon emissions are carbon fees, carbon taxes, and the emissions trading system. Carbon fees and taxes are based on polluter pays principle. The key difference between these two is that carbon fees are directed into specific funds earmarked for climate-related issues, whereas carbon taxes are integrated into national treasury for various purposes. Emissions Trading System, ETS, also known as cap and trade, refers carbon credits as carbon allowance. The government mandates a maximum limit of carbon emissions. Companies with excessive emission must purchase additional allowances from other companies that have surplus allowances in the ETS to meet regulations. In summary, there are voluntary and mandatory carbon markets. The so-called carbon credits are usually referred to carbon offsets in the voluntary market, or carbon allowances in the ETS. However, the question remains, can companies truly save the Earth by purchasing carbon credits? In our opinion, multiple actions are necessary to achieve the goal of the Paris Agreement, including promoting energy efficiency, increasing the use of renewable energy, and covering residual emissions with high-quality carbon credits. Let's work together to make the world better.